go. If you have your scriptures, we're going to be in the book of Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 10. Leviticus chapter 10. If you've been following along in the reading plan, you are in the middle of the book of Leviticus. And yeah, good luck, you guys. It is a lot of law. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is like one of three stories in the book of Leviticus. I'm excited to jump into it. This is a story I think on your plan you read Monday, Leviticus chapter 10. I titled tonight's message "Playing with Fire" because that's what we see in this story. It's a story of two guys by the name of Nadab and Abihu, and the theme of tonight's message, we're really going to wrestle with what it looks like to fear the Lord, what it looks like to fear the Lord or to live in reverence for the Lord. A few generations ago, like our nation had a ton of respect for God. Even if they did not believe in God, or even if they did not consider themselves to be Christians, they at least respected God, or at least respected the God of the Christians or their way of life. Like consider this. In the 60s, most restaurants, stores, and gas stations were all closed on Sundays. Now Chick-fil-A is like the only one left standing. Chick-fil-A, David's Burgers, like that's it, Hobby Lobby. Like those are the only places that would close on Sunday. The Lord's name was, what did you say, James? You making fun of me? The what? Oh, Larry's Pizza, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, Larry's. Sorry for the shade I threw on Larry's. The Lord's name was rarely taken in vain. They prayed before every single public event. But now, like things have changed so much. Merry Christmas has been replaced with Happy Holidays. Christmas break has been replaced with winter break. In an effort to move away from religion, or specifically in an effort to move away from Christianity, that like things used to be considered sacred. Things used to be treated as sacred. Sundays were sacred. Church was sacred. God's name was sacred. But now we've gotten a lot more casual with things related to God. Even within the church, even within Christianity, we've become far more casual. I don't know. Whenever I was an intern here, even people we know. Whenever I was an intern here, this was probably, let's say, I started in 2012. And so somewhere around like 2014, I was walking through the sanctuary. Keep in mind, like it wasn't during a church service. Was not at all during a church service, but I was walking through the sanctuary and I had a hat on, and I passed Brother Paul and he said, "Hey, why don't you take that hat off in here?" Now, Jason wears a hat every stinking day, and Brother Paul never says anything to him. But like it's just a shift. It was a shift of things. Like we've gotten a little bit more casual with things. Jason wears swimming trunks to work all the time, and Brother Paul does not care. He's like, yeah, that's fine. People can do that now. Like he's relaxed a little bit, right? And we've kind of seen that across the board where things have gotten a little bit more relaxed. Like prayers have gotten far less formal. Used to, whenever you would stand or whenever you would hear somebody pray out loud, it was a very reverent, formal speech. Now they're like, "Daddy God," and they're like, "Whoa! Like, are you allowed to say that?" I'm not sure if that's allowed in a prayer, right? Like things have relaxed so much. Like you used to wear your Sunday best, now not anymore. Like it's been replaced with a far more casual version of Christianity. By the way, not all of that's bad. Some of that has been very good. It's been a move away from legalism, and it's been a move towards grace, and some of it has been a very good shift, but at least, nonetheless, we do see a shift. We see a shift where it's we treat things as in a far more casual way, less sacred, more casual, and I think that's what we see here in this story in Leviticus chapter 10. We read the stories of Nadab and Abihu that do not respect the presence of God. And they do not respect their calling as priests. We're actually going to begin in chapter 9, beginning in verse 22. I'm going to read 22. I'm going to read to the end of chapter 9, beginning in verse 22. And then we'll jump into chapter 10 in a moment. But what we see here, actually, let me give you the context first. Let me remind you, if you haven't been reading through Leviticus, what has been going on in Leviticus is God is setting up the law for the people of Israel, for the Hebrews, to say, hey, if you want me to be close to you, here's some things that you're going to need to do. Like, I have a desire to be with you, I have a desire to lead you and guide you, but there's some rules and regulations that you need to follow in order for us to live together, in order for us to dwell together, and specifically in order for your sins to be forgiven, a picture of what's to come, a picture of Christ to come. But what's been going on so far in Leviticus is God's been setting up the law. He's been setting up the offerings specifically. Offerings for different things, offerings for sin offerings, for fellowship offerings, for different things, all these different things. And the whole time he's saying, hey, I'm going to take care of you. And specifically, I'm going to take care of the priest. Okay, so it's been talking kind of specifically to the priest so far. As I'm going to be very generous to you guys through the generosity of the Israelites. But he gets to the end, he's like, hey, by the way, all these offerings, the priests are going to handle all of these. The Levites, the family of Levi, you're going to be in charge of all of this. You're going to be a special group of people, a special family within the Israelites. You're going to be in charge of carrying the tabernacle. You're going to be in charge of giving the offerings. You're going to be the ones that are closest to my presence. You have a very special role in all of this. You're not going to get land, but you do have a very, very special role in God's plan, specifically with the Israelites. Their clothing, we read about their clothing in the book of Leviticus. The priest had a very specific clothing that they were required to wear. They had this breastpiece with all these stones on it, and it even helped them make decisions and helped them figure out God's will. And like the standard for their clothing was like 5 different materials woven together. Their colors matched the tabernacle, and certain pieces were embroidered or engraved with the names of the tribes of Israel. And so here's what we got going on in chapter 9, is they're being set up to give their first sacrifice. In chapter 9, Aaron and his family, the Levites, are being set up to give the very first sacrifice. They're about to operate as priests for the very first time ever. So far, Moses has been the one giving the sacrifices and Aaron along with him, but so far it's just been Moses. But now that's about to be transferred onto the priest. And so for 7 days, they've been standing in front of the tabernacle, going through this cleansing process and giving these offerings. And they had to go through this ceremony in order for their offerings to be accepted. Now, at the end of chapter 9, they give an offering. And it says this in verse 22, Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he came down after sacrificing the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the fellowship offering. Verse 23, Moses and Aaron then entered the tent of meeting. And when they came out, they blessed the people. And listen to this, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. The glory of the Lord appeared to all the people, and fire came from the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat portions on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and they fell face down. And consider this, like the priest got a front row seat to this. They have a very special role in what just happened. Fire just came from heaven, consumed the altar, and the people begin to worship, and the priests get a front row seat to all this. Consider that feeling. Okay, consider how they might have felt, the feeling of being chosen, the feeling of having a purpose, of holding such a sacred position, the feeling of having a role this close to the presence of the Lord, the honor that would come with that position. Several years ago, 2011, we took a mission trip, maybe 12, took a mission trip to New Jersey and then spent some time in Washington, D.C. This was with our church and our youth group. And while we were in D.C., I had the opportunity to go to Arlington Cemetery, almost said seminary, Arlington Cemetery, and visit the tomb of the unknown soldier. I don't know if any of you have ever been there before. It's an incredible place to be. It's a place of reverence. It's a place of serious respect. And I got to view the changing of the guard, and it's like it was wild. Talk about fear. Like that's a place like you have so much respect, so much fear for the people standing in front of you. And so after it, I got really curious about the process and what's going on. I even watched documentaries. I'd nerd out on things sometimes. Watch documentaries about this whole process, and it's fascinating what these soldiers have to go through to be one of the guards. It's a very, very serious selection process. You have to be the perfect size. You can't be too big, too small, too fat, too skinny. You have to be like the model soldier, essentially, is the way they word it. You had to have a perfect military record, and you had to commit to being a guard for 2 years. Okay, so this isn't just a small thing. You had to commit to this role for 2 years. In order to train to become one of the guards, you had to memorize the details of every fallen soldier in the Arlington Cemetery. You had to memorize the details of every single soldier in there. You had to practice the movements until you could perform them flawlessly. It's a 21-step walk that they could execute perfectly. The changing of the guard is an incredibly precise ceremony that they had to memorize and go through. Their uniforms were kept to an absolutely impossible standard. I forget how long they have to guard, like how long they're on duty to actually be the guard. But before they're even on duty to be the guard, they have to prepare their uniform, and it takes 6 hours a day to get their uniform ready. 6 hours every single day preparing their uniform. Every button, every buckle, every piece of brass on their uniform must be polished until you can see your reflection inside the piece of metal. Their uniform was pressed with perfect creases. Their gloves had to be completely spotless. They were white. Their shoes had to be shined until they could see their reflection in their shoes. And the feeling that the soldiers got, this is the exciting part of it, or the interesting part. Like this role, to be chosen to be a guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, to be chosen to have that role, many in the military consider it the highest honor of their military career. The highest honor of their entire military career. It's an honor, it's a privilege. Why? It's because they're handling something sacred. This isn't a casual role. No. They're handling something very, very sacred, and they take it very seriously. The whole cemetery is full of people who have fought for our freedom, and specifically this Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is symbolic of all the men and women who have died, and we don't even know their names. And they take this role very, very seriously. And this, just so you know, this is the role of the priest in Leviticus. This is very similar to the role that they have. They have a highly detailed ceremony. They have very specific clothing. They have to take their job very seriously. Every single detail matters if you're going to operate as the priest. If you're going to give an offering that's going to be acceptable to the Lord, every single thing matters. And it's not about like being perfectionistic or having a spirit of perfectionism. There we go. It's just about honoring the one that you're serving. That the priests were expected to do this incredibly well because it's about honoring the one that you're serving, because you're handling something sacred. You're not going to treat the role casually. No. You're handling something very, very sacred. This is the presence of God we're talking about. This is a sacrifice on behalf of the sins of the people of Israel that we're talking about. These are the commands of God that we're talking about. We're not going to treat this casually. We're going to be very serious about this role. And yet we see in chapter 10, that's the downfall of Nadab and Abihu, that Aaron and his sons are about to learn this lesson in a tragic way. In verse 1, chapter 10, verse 1, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, each took his own fire pan, put fire in it, and placed incense on it, and presented unauthorized fire before the Lord, which God had not commanded them to do. And fire came from the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Let's consider, what did they do wrong here? What happened to Nadab and Abihu? In chapter 9, they give an offering, and it's this big celebration, this moment of worship. But in chapter 10, they give an offering, and it says they took their own fire pan and presented unauthorized fire before the Lord. I did some reading, some studying, trying to figure out what's going on. What is an unauthorized fire? There's no 100% answer. It's not like anything that everyone agrees on. Let me give you some options. Unauthorized fire, just so you know, the translation doesn't help you at all. It just means foreign fire, a fire from somewhere else, a strange fire. And so that's really what the word means. And so here's what it could mean in this passage. It could mean that they brought fire from the wrong source. Okay, there was a specific place that they were required to get the fire. We see in chapter 9 that the Lord brings the fire. And so it could be that they brought fire from home. Like, hey, we got this candle, we can use it. Start up an altar, start up a fire, and burn another offering. It could mean that they were performing a religious activity that had not been commanded. Okay, we kind of see that in the passage. They presented an unauthorized fire before the Lord, which God had not commanded them, which that's referring to God, had not commanded them to do. So it could just be that they're trying to perform religious activity that God didn't tell them to do. Okay, the fire, or the offering in chapter 9 was commanded. Chapter 10, they're just trying to give some bonus offerings. And God's like, I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't ask for another offering. I didn't ask for another religious performance. Or it's possible, and this is based on a little bit farther down in chapter 10, where it says in chapter 10, verse 8, the Lord spoke to Aaron. In verse 9, you and your sons are not to drink wine or beer when you enter into the tent of meeting, or else you're going to die. This is a permanent statute throughout your generations. So it's possible that the issue that Nadab and Abihu had is that they showed up to give an offering and they were drunk. Because that's a command that God immediately gives them right after this story. So it's possible that they showed up drunk and were performing this ritual or this ceremony. So the three categories are that it was like a scheduling issue. Like, I didn't tell you to give another offering. I didn't tell you to give a bonus offering. I didn't ask for this. It's possible that they had the wrong motives. They're just trying to perform a show, trying to get God to do something cool again. Or it's possible that they're just being irreverent. Either way, regardless of what the story is, regardless of what's going on here, they have no respect for God's commands. Regardless of which way we take it, they have no fear of God. They have no respect for the role that God has placed them in. No respect for the commands that God has given them. And consider the timing of this. After all that they have seen God do. Remember that we're only like a year past the Exodus at this point. Okay, maybe a little bit more, but not too much farther. Like a year past the Exodus at this point. So consider all that these guys have seen. Nadab and Abihu have gotten to see the Exodus. They got to see the plagues. They got to see the like every single one of them. The water turned to blood. They got to see the frogs. They got to see the flies. They got to see the death of the firstborn. They got to walk through the Red Sea with water on their right, water on their left. They got to see God perform these miracles. They got to drink water out of a rock. They're eating manna from the ground every single day that the Lord is giving them. They've seen the presence of God on Mount Sinai. They've heard the voice of God at Mount Sinai. They've seen the seriousness of God in his reaction to the worship of a golden calf. They just gave a sacrifice the day before, and now they're going to show up casually to the presence of God. After all that they've seen God do, all the ways that they've seen God move, now they're going to approach God casually. They're going to treat their calling casually, their role casually. They're going to treat the presence of God casually. And so God, he strikes them dead. Verse 2, fire came from the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. It's possible. I was just telling Caleb and Parker in the back. These aren't going to be on the screen, but eventually Moses calls over the cousins of Nadab and Abihu, and they carry out Nadab and Abihu. And it specifically says with their tunics, with their clothes, with the priestly garments. And so a couple of the commentaries I read says that's a very specific detail given, meaning that God was so specific with the fire that he killed them with, that he just burned the people, not their clothes. Like God struck them down, like specifically. Like, no, you're not going to treat my presence casually. That's not going to happen. You're not going to treat this role casually. No, you're going to take this role seriously or you're dead. You're going to take my presence seriously or you're dead. And then in verse 3, Moses speaks to Aaron. Moses said to Aaron, this is what the Lord has spoken. I will demonstrate my holiness. I will demonstrate my holiness to those who are near me, the priests. I will demonstrate my holiness to those who are near me and through the priests. Through them, I will reveal my glory before all the people. And notice the next line. And Aaron remained silent Two of his sons were just burnt to death by the Lord. And Aaron remained silent. You get the sense, like, just to read into that, like, what's going on? What's going through Aaron's mind? I assume he's broken. He's confused. He's probably terrified. Broken, confused, and terrified. And Moses speaks there, and he's like, hey, the Lord's anointing is on you. There's no time to cry right now. The rest of Israel, they can mourn the deaths of Nadab and Abihu, but you have a job to do. Don't treat the Lord's presence casually. There's work to be done. Question is, why does this matter? Why does this story matter? Why are we taking a look at this story tonight? Why does it matter what the priests were called to do? And it's because of this. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. Sorry, I have you jumping all around, Caleb. It says, but you, that's referring to believers. Okay, Peter's writing to a group of believers. And so you Christians, you followers of Christ, are a chosen race, a royal people, a holy nation, a people for his possession, so that you may proclaim the praises of the one who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. You are a royal priesthood. Peter's just writing this to normal believers. They're not even of the family of Levi. Some of these people may not even be Jewish people that he's writing to. And Peter's writing to them and said, hey, back then, you had to be a Levite to be a priest. It was just passed down generation to generation to generation to generation. Like if your dad was a priest, his son's going to be the priest. But now, Peter's saying like, no, all of you, if you placed your faith in Christ, you are now a part of a royal priesthood. You are now considered a priest yourself. This was a major part of the Protestant Reformation. Huge part of the Protestant Reformation. The Catholic view is that the pastor, the priest, those in leadership are entirely separate from the rest of the church. Like there's things that pastors have been called to do that ordinary people have not been called to do. And they even separated who was allowed to study the scriptures. Typically, in Catholic tradition back then, only the priest, the pope, the people in charge were even allowed to read the scriptures. The scriptures were all in Latin. And who knew Latin? Nobody but the priest. And so that was within the Catholic doctrine. Then Martin Luther came around. And he began to realize after studying the scripture and reading passages like this in 1 Peter, he's like, oh, no, I think we've all been called to be priests. That's not just a specific role for the leaders within our religion. No. Every single one of us have a special calling, a special a purpose. And so he presented something, Martin Luther did, called the priesthood of all believers. And this is our view as well. This is our view as Baptists, that we believe, this is our view here at East Union, that we believe that every single one of us have been called to be a priest. That we have a designated role. The Lord has given us a role. We believe that because 1 Peter tells us that. It's also spoken about in the book of Revelation, where it says that we're a kingdom and a priest to our God. We're a kingdom of priests, I think is the way Revelation says it. We're an entire kingdom of priests, which, by the way, was Moses' dream. It's like I have this dream that one of these days, everyone's going to be filled with the Spirit and have access to the presence of God. And the book of Revelation says, now we got it. We got it. Moses' dream came true. Everybody is a priest and filled with the Spirit and has access to the presence of God. And so the Old Testament priests are chosen by God. They have a special purpose. They serve God. They give sacrifices. They have the special privileges. There's places that only priests could go, things that only priests could do. The high priest especially, there was only so many, like he was allowed to do some special and really cool things specifically to go back into the Holy of Holies. But then you get to the New Testament, and that veil that separates the Holy of Holies has been torn. After the death of Jesus Christ, the veil was torn from top to bottom, implying that God is the one that tore the veil. And so now we all have access to the presence of God through Jesus Christ. And so all of us now have been chosen by God. We have a special purpose. We serve God. We have a role. And it says that our role is that we proclaim the praises of his glory. That we proclaim that Jesus Christ has died, was buried, resurrected, and ascended into heaven. That we proclaim who Jesus is and what Jesus has done for us. And like the Old Testament priests who would give sacrifices, we give sacrifices as well. What does it say in the book of Romans? That we are a living sacrifice, is what the scripture says. That we lay down our lives on behalf of the Lord. So why does this passage matter? It's because we are priests as well. Because now it's not just the special pastors, the elite Christians who have access to the presence of God, who get to be close to God, but it's all of us who get to be close to God. It's all believers who have direct access to God through Christ and can offer sacrifices through worship and service and giving their lives. And all of us have the responsibility, like a priest, to intercede on behalf of others, to pray for others. So we have this removal of the professional. We have this removal of the professional minister where we're all priests. And like the priests of the Old Testament, like Nadab and Abihu, we must approach God with reverence. We must take our role seriously. We must take our responsibility seriously. We must take God seriously. Look at what again, in verse 3. Here's what Moses says to Aaron. This is what the Lord has spoken. I will demonstrate my holiness. You will treat me as holy. You will respect me. You will fear me. I will demonstrate my holiness to those who are near me. I will reveal my glory before all the people. This is the topic of the fear of the Lord. Over and over throughout the Old Testament, the people of Israel are commanded to fear the Lord. You've seen it if you're going through your reading plan in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 20, where Moses has just received the commandments, the law. And all the Hebrews, hear the voice of God. They hear the word of God. God speaks the 10 commandments. And the people of Israel are terrified. And they're like, hey, Moses, how about you go talk to God? We'll be down here waiting on you. We don't want to be that close to God. And Moses responds, and he says, do not be afraid. Look at this in verse 20. Moses responded to the people, don't be afraid. This is an interesting verse. Don't be afraid, for God has come to test you so that you'll fear him. Don't be afraid. God's just trying to make you afraid. Don't fear him. God just wants you to fear him. Well, what's going on in there? Moses saying, hey, like, don't be so afraid that you're running away. No. You just need to have respect for his presence. You just need to understand his power. Here in this passage in Leviticus, back in Leviticus chapter 10. Go down to verse 8. This is the don't drink wine or beer when you enter the tent of meeting or else you're going to die. This is a permanent statute throughout your generations. That was verse 9, sorry. Verse 10, you must distinguish between the holy and the common, between the clean and the unclean, and teach the Israelites the statutes that the Lord has given you through Moses. He says, the Lord is speaking to the priest. He says, you will take this seriously. You will respect the role. You will respect my presence. You're not going to be casual about this. You must fear me. The word fear means to have reverence or deep respect. And to go, again, quote Moses, he said, I don't want you to run away from him, but I do want you to fear him. Fear is a good thing. It keeps you safe. Proverbs chapter 1 says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so it is a good thing. Fear keeps you safe, keeps you down the right path. Just the other day, our AC went out. So we spent the night with Abby's parents, stayed over there that morning. Abby's mom was like, hey, there's a snake on the back porch. Can you go kill it? Harvey was gone. So I had to be the man of the house. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And I go out there, it's a tiny snake, so it was fine. But it was I don't know my snakes. It was a copperhead. I'm gonna call it a copperhead. It was a poisonous one. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't like a little black snake. So I go out there. It's a little tiny snake. It's probably like that long. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it like I could stomp it, but what if I miss? Like I could just stomp its head right now. But what if like I miss its head and it jumps up, bites my ankle, and I'll die? And so I was like, what do I do? And so I went out into their shed and I just grabbed like Harvey's shovel and I went out there and killed it. But sorry if you're a snake lover, I apologize. And so what we see in there is like just an example, like fear is what keeps you safe. Fear is it's a healthy response to power. So it's what keeps you safe in the midst of a tornado. Fear is what causes you to do the right thing. It's not like typically she's like, hey, let's go somewhere safe like immediately. Like if there's a storm coming like in 2 weeks, she's like, should we go ahead and get in the storm cellar? And it's like, no, not yet. Like I'm probably a little too much on edge. Where it's like, let's hang out on the porch, wait till it gets here. Abby's like, no, let's get somewhere safe ASAP. But that's responsible. Fear is what keeps you safe. Fear is what causes you to respond responsibly. It's what causes you to go to storm shelters in the midst of a tornado. It's what keeps you safe around guns. It's the reason why parents teach you like proper gun control safety rules. We took Denver to the ocean this past summer for the first time that he could understand it. We took him as a baby, but the first time that he could understand it. And initially he was so pumped and he was like, took off running to the water until he realized that the waves were stronger than he was. And it took him like 4 days to get back into the water. Like initially he's like, yeah, let's go, let's play. And then he realized like, oh, there's some strong currents here. Like I can't actually swim out of this. This isn't the bathtub. And so like he began to have a fear that actually kept him safe. We were actually nervous before we got to the beach. We're going to have to watch Denver at all times, like all eyes on him to keep him from drowning, getting sucked into the ocean. And then we realized like, he's terrified. He's just going to sit right here in the sand the whole time. And so until the last day. And he's like, oh yeah, now I want to play. I was like, well, we're going home. It's fear is a healthy response to power. This is why people fall on their faces whenever they see God. It's a healthy response whenever they're in the presence of God and they realize how powerful He is. That's why in the story of Jacob that Jason preached about a couple weeks ago, it's why Jacob responds, why he responded the way he did, where he says, God could have killed me, but He showed me grace. He could have and He should have killed me, but He decided to show me grace. That leads us to another aspect of this. Growing up, I'm sure your parents had a similar thing. Like if I was ever misbehaving, my mom's phrase was always, "Don't make me call your dad." Anybody else similar phrase? Like don't make me call your dad. And I don't know what it was. Like my dad was not. Like he was never one to implement any sort of correction. Like he was pretty laid back and chill dude. But whenever my mom's like, hey, don't make me get your dad, I straighten up pretty quick. There's something about that phrase that made me terrified, struck fear in me as a child. And it's interesting though, because I was both simultaneously afraid of him and I loved being with him. Like I understood his strength, but I also really enjoyed being in His presence. And so it was a respect that didn't cause me to run away, but instead was a respect that caused me to get close. And so this is our stance before God. Like we understand His power, but we also understand His grace, that He does love me, He does care for me, but He could kill me right now if He wants to. Like it's both at the same time. And so let's wrestle through what does that look like in our life to have a fear of God? What does it look like tomorrow? If you want to live with a fear of God, I think it's going to affect how you worship. That if you have a respect for God, a reverence for God, it affects how you worship, how you approach worship, like you're not showing up casual or on autopilot, but you show up excited. You prepare your heart beforehand. You pray ahead of time that we're about to have an encounter with the Lord, that this isn't just entertainment. No, I'm about to sing praises to the Lord. It affects what you do when no one's watching. Because you understand that you're never actually alone, but you're always in the presence of the Lord. Like you understand at every moment, God is right here with me and He's watching what I'm doing. It affects how you read His word, that you take it seriously, not casually. It affects how you respond to conviction. If the Lord is calling you to do something, you act, regardless of if it's going to be inconvenient or embarrassing. It affects how you pray. It affects your plans. Like to live with the fear of God means that you're going to live your whole life around the fact that God is right here with me right now. We're going to take His presence seriously. We're going to take our calling seriously. And we're going to take our responsibility seriously. Let me finish with this quote. This is from Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Whenever they first make it to Narnia and they begin to hear about Aslan, Lucy asked the question to the little beaver guy. Lucy asked the question about Aslan. Aslan's the lion, the God figure of the book. Lucy said, is he safe? Is he safe? And the beaver responds and says, safe? Who said anything about safe? Of course he's not safe. But he is good. Who said anything about being safe? Of course he's not safe. But he is good. And the beaver goes on to explain that nobody can stand in his presence without his knees knocking at least a little bit. Of course he isn't safe, but he is good. We have a very powerful God that deserves respect, deserves fear, deserves reverence. But because of Jesus Christ and the sacrifice that He gave, if you read through the book of Hebrews, it calls Jesus over and over again a great high priest. And so it's imagery, priest imagery once again. But rather than sacrificing a lamb or sacrificing a cow on behalf of the sins, He gives Himself. And gives us access now to the presence of God. And Hebrews chapter 4 says, now, because He has done that, you can go boldly to the throne. You can go boldly into the presence of God because the veil has been torn, and every single person in this room is now a priest with direct access to the presence of God. A priest with a role, with a calling, with a responsibility. And may we always take that role, calling, and responsibility seriously.